All right, all right. We're about to close this thing out strong. Season finale of Woodbine live.
As I'm like breaking everything here, like I'm disabled right now. We're doing our best.
Jessica, I think you're ending it on just the note. We've had bumps along the way, and so it's only fitting that we could we have a little friction off the top here. But I can tell you, for all the people tuning in right now, the top right there, you see Jessica Paquette. We haven't seen her in a couple of weeks. We haven't seen her on these shows because she's been recovering from an injury. So first and foremost, before we welcome Ellis and dig into the race at Woodbine, how are you doing, Jessica?
I really appreciate all of the kind words and messages and phone calls and snacks that everyone has sent me. It's really appreciated. It's unfortunate. I mean, if you ride horses long enough, you're going to take a nasty fall. And this is a great reminder to everyone at home. Today is the PDJF telethon. So you should donate to the PDJF because all it takes is one bad accident and your life is entirely changed. I got very lucky. Mine wasn't entirely changed, but mine is very much changed for the near future. I broke my back in a little riding accident. 0 stars. I do not recommend this. Just one of those freak things that, horses are horses and accidents happen. But I'm glad to be upright and back on the show.
Yeah, and representing Suffolk Downs.
Yes, which hides the back brace. Honestly, at this point, it's just every oversized sweatshirt that I can find.
All right. So is that an invitation? So people have sent you all sorts of gifts and goodies. If they're going to send anything, send more hoodies.
Yeah, like hoodies and snacks. Really, that's all I do now. Is I just sit on the couch and eat snacks. This is my life.
All right. Well, Jessica, we're glad to hear, obviously, that things weren't worse. We understand that, obviously, it's a tough time for you. So we're thinking about you. We love you. And we are hoping for more good news. So keep updating people on Twitter and so on, as I'm sure you will, as you continue to improve.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll also add, for this show, it's probably good if you're on Percocet. It's probably good to be a little high with you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I learned at the hospital I'm allergic to painkillers. So,
I'm sorry.
This has been alcohol only.
Yeah, I think he was speaking to me, Jessica, because he knows he knows my style. We're closing out Woodbine live strong here, right? So, no, so I'm just kidding. By the way, for all the folks watching, I am not on Percocet right now. That was a so we have 2 big races. Ellis right now is at Keeneland. He's got money. He's firing everywhere. He just delivered some bad news as well, saying that he's out of his multi-race tickets. Ellis, what's going on down there? And I know you're transitioning. You're shifting your focus right now to Woodbine.
I absolutely am. We have 2 more races here. The last is a maiden claimer. So it's fantastic. The weather, it's been unbelievable. We're sold out every day at Keeneland. They limited attendance to 20,000. They've hit it every day. And yesterday, a fantastic day with the races today as well. Yesterday, we saw the Queen Elizabeth II and the largest margin of victory ever in the Queen Elizabeth by Chad Brown's Shantasara. But just fantastic. 62 today, I think. And just fall weather, wonderful. Hopefully everybody else is enjoying the same kind of weather. But Woodbine also looking for the great racing.
Yeah, good stuff coming up at Woodbine. Dustin, very happy to see Jessica back in action here, as are we. As I mentioned, we got a couple of big races coming up here. It's the start of the late pick 4. It kicks off with the E.P. Taylor, which we're going to show you live at Woodbine. There's the screen right now, just in case you didn't believe me. Getting our first look at some of the odds here for the E.P. Taylor Stakes. We're going to share a ticket with you. We've got a pick 4 ticket we've put together as a team. We've also got a backup ticket, a little bit of a saver ticket that Ellis has put together as well. So if you're playing with us, you want to put in a pick 4, we'll show you a couple of tickets to consider. We've also got our good friend Sheri. Go Philly. She is live at Woodbine. She's going to be joining us in a few minutes from the paddock and the walking ring. So we'll see her in a few minutes. She'll give us an update on how the horses are looking there. Trackside, we're getting a look there at Waliak, a horse that I've heard Ellis kind of reference a couple of times in some of the emails that we've exchanged back and forth and prepping for the show.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. Shipping in for Roger Varian, ran her most recent race in France, but has some good form in the UK as well. Group 3 winner, Group 3 placed, and one of the more interesting horses shipping in. The other big storyline, we should just say it, and I know Sheri's going to give us more insight when she joins us live on track, is that the weather has caused all the turf races to be removed from the turf, with the exception of our 2 features today. So they are going to be running on the turf as scheduled, but the turf, as you can see there, is yielding. And so there are some things to consider when we handicap here, which horses might appreciate the wet surface here, a little cut in the grass and cut in the turf, and which horses might potentially struggle with that. And I think we all found some horses who kind of fit into both camps. And so currently, it looks like we got co-favorites here. The 2-horse at 12. At 12 finished, actually won the E.P. Taylor last year, finished second last out in the Dan Smartly. And then California Queen, I'm a little surprised by this. I know we might have some love for California Queen amongst this battle, but I guess look, Chad Brown is always going to get some.
Nice to see Chad Brown finally get a good turf horse.
Exactly.
Or 2 or 3.
With multiple, with multiple shots, is seemingly in every big turf race, whether it's at Belmont or Saratoga or at Woodbine. Also has Great Island, who's 6-1, surprising to me at least, off a 3-1 morning line, the 8-horse on the outside. So, all right, I will shut up now because I want to hear first how Jessica sees this race playing out. Jessica, over to you.
Well, for me, the race really comes down to the turf course. It's a huge variable with the turf course being so soft. So I was looking for horses right off the bat that have shown that they can really handle a truly yielding turf course. Mm-hmm. I settled kind of on the outside with number 10, La Dragon T. I liked that effort on a yielding course, 2 starts back. Really good effort. I like that she came back to win next time too against, maybe it's a slightly lesser group, but some familiar faces that she faces here. It's a slight step up for her. It has not been the most consistent horse. Again, I like the yielding turf form. And I think both of the Clement horses actually have a big shot here. I'm intrigued by the other one as well.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? Let's go to La Dragon T for a moment because I'm with you. I think in terms of looking for horses who might like the surface, La Dragon T is one who kind of stood out to me. Let's go back to her last race when she won the Canadian Stakes.
Merveilleux coming up on the outside, pushing forward, and then Court Return and Barkin starting to warm up as well. They corner, and now the race on. Our secret agent, La Dragon T and Merveilleux. It's a sprint for the wire, and Merveilleux's coming on the inside. Our secret agent, the centre, La Dragon T, a line of 3 with Merveilleux and Barkin down the outside. Then Court Return, La Dragon T still under hands and heels. Ask for more from Joel Rosario in front. Down the outside, Barkin and Merveilleux in the centre. La Dragon T in front. Up the inside, Court Return, but La Dragon T punching away, and La Dragon T wins the Canadian Stakes by a length to Court Return. Barkin third.
With Court Return there, you may have noticed she ran into a little bit of traffic down on the inside. She's back here, 38-1 on Court Return, the 3-horse right now, a huge number. And then the other horse that was in that race, Merveilleux, who's kind of like the local hopeful who always shows up in battles and runs on pretty well. I'm not convinced she's going to like the turf course as it stands as much as the others. The 7-horse right now, 68-1. Ellis, before we go to you, we have a friend standing in the paddock, so we will go to her right now. Sheri, welcome back on. How you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Sheri.
Good.
Hey, we're lucky. We actually had like a sun shower that just passed through right before the last race, right before November fog there. Actually had a nice win for our friend Sheri Riddoch. So everything is kind of glistening right now, but the clouds have opened and the sun is shining. So let's hope that, and there's a plane.
That's our cue to take the mic back as the plane goes overhead until it passes. Well, we will.
I see more rain in the distance, so let's hope that we get this race going off before the clouds open up again. I'm just going to flip my camera over so that you guys can see them all walking out. Everybody looks spectacular. The one that really caught my eye is the number 10. Very much on her toes. I think she's going to like the soft turf. And I'll let you guys take it from there. I'm going to flip my camera.
Yeah, so La Dragon T is the one that we've talked about a few times now, the 10-horse. Ellis, we heard Jessica likes both Clement entrants, La Dragon T, as well as the 6-horse, Mutamakino, won the Dan Smartly last out, 9-1 right now, surprised at that price. What do you think about those two?
Well, one thing I want to start with is you talked about the odds. This is very interesting to see the 1-horse Waliak bet in half. You said California Queen bet from 6 to 3, and then you have other horses drifting up. Well, everybody needs to think, in case you don't know, you think of the wagering pools as a scale. And so when you get a scale, one horse is down, one horse is up. So when a horse like California Queen, for example, goes from 6 to 3, that's a lot of money. Well, somebody else has to go up. And it could be that there's just less money bet or more money bet on one or the other. In that case, it's a perfect example between California Queen, who went from 6 to 3, and Waliak, who went from 8 to 4. So as far as the race goes, I do agree with Jessica and Sheri, and you as well, Dan, that considering the condition of the course is very important. We had the same thing happen at Keeneland on Thursday. We had a downpour, and the course was yielding. The next, for those who don't know, the next course description besides yielding that we use in North America is soft. And we hardly ever use that because at that point they come off the turf. But in this case, because it's a graded stakes, it won't. Yielding is very squishy. And I do agree that the horses that have run well on it are good. But the form that I've seen when I've seen the good horses like this, a grade 1, I don't think it's as big of a weight to consider what they've done. Now, that being said, the horse I like, a dance that I've been talking about most of the week, is Waliak, who ran. I like Waliak, first of all, because Waliak ran on left-handed courses. In North America, we run that direction. And Waliak had run in Lingfield last September on a left-handed course at 1.25 miles. It was a $15,000 handicap, but won by 4 lengths. Also won a mile race this August at Haydock. Very stylishly. It wasn't a big field again, but a left-handed course. And then has been facing Group 3 company, won a Group 3 race at Chantilly last month. And then we talk about, well, first of all, the sire we don't see much, Le Havre. Le Havre sired only a couple of horses according to Stats Racelands that have done well in North America. One was Rimska, who won $800,000. And then the trainer variant, same as we did when we did the show, was last month, I guess, for the Natalma in the summer. I look at trainer stats from Stats Racelands, go back 5 years as far as we can go. Roger Varian's had 7 starters in graded races, of course, all turf, in North America, with 1 win and 1 second. Well, one of those happened to have been Shika Rika, I hope I'm saying that right. Sheri can correct me if I'm wrong, in 2018. And I happened to watch the video. You can watch the videos of these races in Europe of this last race, the Prix Breton de Tarragon, and just led very strongly in the stretch and was not giving anybody a chance to catch. So that's Waliak. Dan, you said you're surprised about California Queen. I wasn't, because of the Chad Brown horses, that was my best of the 3 for me, based on the fact that Flavien Prat is sticking. He's been riding all over the country the last couple of weeks. And that third, Debayadera in the Ballston Spa, was just a spot-on race, a horse that closes. Also a horse that ran 1.25 miles in Germany. We're in a Group 2, won a Group 2 race last May of 2020. At 1.25 miles. So we look at those 2. Then, of course, you got Muda Makina, as you mentioned, and Etoile and Merlieu, who ran 1, 2, 3 in the Dance Smartly, which was pretty good. It got a nice Equibase speed figure comparatively. Great Island, who actually ran the best race in terms of a speed figure, 1:11, went second in the Flower Bowl, cutting back a little bit from 1 3/8 to 1 1/4. And of course, everybody's been talking about La Dragon T, who won the Canadian. And before that, allowance race, certainly a horse that fits. I don't know, even though she won that 1 3/16 and she won 1.25 miles, her races in Europe were not nearly as classy as the races that Etoile, when she was in Europe, but particularly Waliak's been running. So I don't know that I like her as much.
All right. I want to get back to Sheri, because I know she's freezing there as she's getting ready to do a live report. Sheri, Ellis mentioned the Dance Smartly, and that was a race won by Muta Makina. We can take a look back at that race in just a moment. But first, I want to ask you, are you surprised by this board a little bit? Muta Makina at 6-1 right now, and at 12, the horse we finished behind Muta Makina at 3-1.
You know what? I'm actually very surprised by this board, but I think that just gives you a good indication that, you know what? People are really on the fence as to who's going to take to this turf course and who isn't. And I think that there really are a lot of question marks. And it's not really as cut and dry as maybe we thought originally. And nobody's run on the turf course in days. So nobody really knows what it's going to bring. And for some, it's a very new thing to run on a soft turf course, or yielding, or I'm not even sure myself quite what it's going to be. But I think, you know what? You should take some chances now. Like at first I thought we would see the 1 and the 10 being very heavily favored, and I'm a little bit shocked by that. The Chad Browns, they're always going to take money, but I think this is a very fair betting board. And I want to mention one thing that really caught my eye in the paddock is the number 9, who's a 3-year-old filly from Team Valor. She was really on her toes. And what I thought was really interesting is that the jockey was whistling to her while she was actually parading out onto the racetrack. I thought that was really neat, like how he would take that approach to try to settle her.
It gives them something else to think about.
It does.
This is embarrassing, and I'm glad no one's ever seen it because I used to ride What a Trippy early in the morning when he was very young because he was very bad. And I would sing Christmas carols to him the entire ride. And I'm not a great singer, and it was a whole scene. But it's a nice way. You would just want their ears to be listening to you rather than kind of finding something else to think about.
Yeah, and I loved it. Like it was just so cute. She was bouncing along, and you know what? She's run on soft turf for a long shot. I'm gonna put a little money across on this filly.
She looked happy as a clam when she broke away from the pony just now.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know. Something about her just really, really struck me, and it just seemed like she was really taking in the surroundings, and she just really seemed to have that game face on. Not one that where she would be tired, you know, when they get amped up and they're overworked and you know, they kind of run their race prior. It didn't seem that way. It just seemed like she was like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this. And so, you know, I'm going to put some money across on her. I think she's a really, really good long shot.
She's one I find sort of interesting too, because you really don't know what the European horses do until they come, you know, in a North American race. And if her running style changes at all. But judging by how amped she was in the paddock and how eagerly she broke away from the pony, it looks like she's getting a pretty solid warm up. You wonder if she's going to try to go for, you know, take them out front.
You know,
I'm gonna just escape here so I can go get my bets in.
Get warm and make some
I'll
winners.
meet you guys back out here for the Nearctic.
That sounds awesome. Thank you, Sheri.
All right.
See you soon.
Bye, guys. Good luck with your bets. See you soon.
Thanks, Sheri. Yeah, so I love Sheri. Always got her mind on priority number 1, and that is getting those bets in. Do not get shut out. Speaking of, we're going to show you our pick 4 ticket here momentarily, and I'm glad the horse on the screen, Keyflower, we gave a shout out to because my dad would have scolded me had we not. My dad, who was raised on French racing, got me into the sport based on his love of racing that he watched growing up in France. Told me Eddie Hardoon, this jockey, he's coming in for this one race, one of the best jockeys in France that, you know, people know about the Soumillons and who's the guy I'm missing? The guy who won the Breeders' Cup last year, won the multiple races in the Breeders' Cup. I'm blanking on his name right now. It'll come to me.
I have a recent concussion, so that's my excuse.
You're totally excused. But people, you know, people, and even before that, people remember Olivier Pellier and those types of jockeys. Eddie Hardoon, kind of a mid-tier jockey who is extremely, you know, solid in those tracks, kind of like a Brian Hernandez Jr. To make a comparison. And my dad was really impressed by the fact that he's coming here to ride this horse. So anyhow, just had to give him a shout out because I know he's watching the show. That's my dad, not Eddie. He's riding. And so hopefully, you know, that horse runs well. And I like the cases that you both made just now as well. And a little whistling never hurts either. Before we get to the tickets, let's go back just a little bit to the Dan Smartley, the 2021 Dan Smartley, just a little while ago. As we mentioned, that was a race run by Muta Makina, but a lot of other horses, several other horses that are in this race ran there as well. So let's take a look back at the Dan Smartley.
Out in front, Al Nassim in front in the turn to the Dan Smartley finish. Joined quickly by Muta Makina. Etoile is 4 lengths behind and is starting to rain ground on them now. Out in front, Muta Makina from Al Nassim, and here comes Etoile down the outside. Out in front, Muta Makina being targeted by Etoile, and down the outside, Merveilleux and Court Return. Muta Makina in front. Etoile is all out in second, and then Merveilleux. Muta Makina's got it won. Muta Makina in the Dan Smartley, 3/4 to Etoile.
You saw Etoile making that move from off the pace there. I thought it was pretty impressive considering I thought she had a more challenging go of it than Muta Makina. She was sitting a bit wide early, and then she was tracking, I don't know if you caught the fractions there, extremely slow splits. They walked, and Muta Makina kind of got the jump on the field, which is why I'm assuming she's still 9-1. People assume she just sat a perfect trip, I would think, and is now, there are a couple of other better options here to go with. So with that being said, let's look at the options that we went with. Ellis, I'm going to let you kind of talk us through this. It's on the bottom of the screen, our group ticket, which kicks off here with the E.P. Taylor.
Well, when you do a pick four, strategy is to try and find a horse that you want to single, which means one particular horse in a leg. And the last race on this sequence is very, very tough. So we tried to find two horses that we could single, because we know in the next race we're going to have a 4-5 winning line horse at Artie. And if that one hits, it's not going to pay a lot unless you get a couple long shots, like if a 12 was to win here and then Artie. The other one was Admiralty Pier in the Nearctic Stakes. So if they both win, those two favorites win. Admiralty Pier is the lukewarm favorite. Then you hit the race twice. And we spread in this race. We used Waliak. We used Etoile, as you can see, California Queen, Mutamakina, Great Island, and La Dragon T. And luckily, none of the heavy favorite. Etoile would be the least preferable here. But we have 6 with both tickets, and then we have to move on and get one or both singles home. If we don't get a single in one of the two legs, we'll get a long shot, hopefully, and that'll open it up for the last leg.
All right. You got the backup ticket here. This covers basically a scenario in which
Artie doesn't win.
Artie doesn't win. So, all right. So they're loading into the gate. By the way, Pierre-Charles Boudot was the jockey I was thinking about a minute ago.
Would that bother you all day?
It would have totally. I immediately need to look for this.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, there was no way I was letting that go. All right, they're just about all loaded into the gate. Very, very interesting board here for the E.P. Taylor Stakes. 2 horses, multiple horses, kind of sharing your favorites, 3-1 at 12. So this should be interesting. All right, let's enjoy this race. Good luck if you're out there betting. Good luck. Hopefully you cash a ticket or two. We're with you live for the next hour and a half with racing from Woodbine. This is just the beginning. We've got a couple more races coming up, including an interesting allowance up next, and then the Nearctic Stakes from Woodbine. So let's get some money.
Ellis Stakes, and beginning nicely was Court Return, California Queen going up with Family Way, Mutamakina. Waliak began sharply on the inside, and they're up across the track with Waliak headed by California Queen. Mutamakina at the outside of Family Way. A length away, Etoile is snuggled up on the inside, and going around them is Great Island. Merveille's in the center with Court Return now getting back, and second last on the inside is Key Flower, and early on La Dragon T is last. It is Flavien Prat in front, and it's California Queen the leader. At the mile by a length in second placing is Mutamakina. Lying third, Family Way. Waliak on the inside's handy. The pace is pretty slow. A length in behind them is Great Island. On the inside, mid-pack, Irad Ortiz Jr. on Etoile. And then Court Return, Merveille. Second last on the inside is Key Flower. And at the back of affairs, La Dragon T. Only about 5 lengths first to last. Trying to put them to sleep here in the E.P. Taylor Stakes is Flavien Prat on California Queen. California Queen by a length to Mutamakina. Waliak is nudging up on the inside. Lying in fourth, Family Way. Great Island is next. On the inside at 12 from Court Return, Merveille. Key Flower is on the inside tucked away. And La Dragon T is last. Racing along towards the 4.5 and still out in front. California Queen by a length to Mutamakina. On the inside, Waliak. Family Way's right there in the center, nudging up as well. Great Island on the outside. Court wide, but running on is Merveille. Looking for some room is Etoile. And then Court Return. Key Flower second last. And La Dragon T is last. California Queen quickens. They go inside the 3/8. Challenged now by Mutamakina on the outside. Lying in third, Family Way. And as they turn for home, Waliak's right behind them. Out wide, a Great Island. And a rails run to Key Flower. California Queen narrowly from Mutamakina, Waliak. And down the outside, Family Way. Key Flower's up the rails. Mutamakina, California Queen, Waliak. And trying to run home is Key Flower on the inside. And behind them, Great Island and the Dragon T. Mutamakina in front. Mutamakina from California Queen. La Dragon T flying. La Dragon T coming. Mutamakina's won it. Mutamakina from La Dragon T. California Queen is third. Behind them on the inside was Key Flower with Waliak and Great Island.
Wow, how about that? Mutamakina at 8-1. Like, what was going on there? We said it. Like, the inflated price on Mutamakina. she sat the same exact trip that she sat last out, and she did the same exact thing. She went by.
That's not a bad exacta at all.
No?
Yeah, Muda Makina, I mean, California Queen did everything right. I mean, she just tried to slow it down. The courses, I mean, the 6 furlong time was 1:20.84. So that will tell you it's about, 7 seconds. Well, for a mile and a quarter, probably about 6 seconds slower than you'd expect. So it is really, it's probably closer to soft than yielding. But, and California Queen did everything absolutely correct and was pretty game. Holding on for third. Dragon T tried, but I mean, I just don't think they can get any kind of real what do I want to say, traction on the course. I mean, look, the one Waliak had they part the Red Sea through that hole she got, and it just may have been softer on the inside because you could see the stretch run. California Queen is digging in. Muda Makina is just barely got a lead. Here comes La Dragon T, who we know has a big kick, and they're just kind of spinning a little bit. I mean, Dragon T did get stuck a little bit back there and got out very late.
She was just a little late to switch leads too, but
yeah.
Just have to briefly mention how thrilling it is to see Dylan Davis get a Grade 1 win. Love to see it.
Absolutely.
This
Muta Makina, I mean, they've really they formed a nice union here, back-to-back wins now on a big stage in a big race. And so, it was also interesting at the break, you saw Muta Makina come together with Family Way, the 5 and 6 sort of collided a little bit too. So to overcome that sort of early adversity, get in position was very impressive. And Jessica, credit to you. I mean, La Dragon T, we made a case for, I thought really ran a spectacular race. I mean, and to your point, once she switched off leads, I mean, and once she started really straightened out in that last 50 or 60 yards, she started rolling.
Yeah, and she didn't actually look like she got over the course all that well, too. And with the relatively slow pace, she had everything against her. But sharp ride by Dylan. Dylan won his first race at Suffolk years ago, so I've always been, I mean, the whole Davis family I really root for. But that's neat to see.
Yeah, it was really good. What's also interesting for folks that had a thrill there for a minute with Keyflower at 53-1 was coming up. I think she might have probably finished 5th to finish off the high five. But,
I'm pretty sure I could hear Sheri screaming for her here in Boston.
I
thought she was going to squirt through there on the rail. I was like, come on.
Yeah, there was a brief moment where I was like, oh man, go for Sheri.
Yeah. So if you think about also based on the morning line, you're right, Jessica. I mean, with Muda Makina coming out of the Grade 2, both of them coming out of the Grade 2s at Woodbine, 8-1, 5-1, and who didn't fire at all was Etoile.
Yeah,
Etoile. I just thought she wasn't meant for this turf course. She's one that I really thought was going to be up against it on the soft turf.
Yeah.
She did get bet up, by the way. California Queen, as they're running around the track, I noticed California Queen had the yellow 5-2. California Queen went off as the 5-2 favorite.
Yeah, I was surprised about that, and to be honest, I didn't think California Queen had much of an excuse, right? I mean, I thought that she had things pretty much her way. As we saw, that they weren't really making any moves from off the pace, and she just gave it up late to 2 horses that I think are just better at this point. Great Island, another sort of a disappointment there on the outside, made a little bit of a move, but just sort of flattened out. Coming out of a second place finish in the Flower Bowl to Warlike Goddess, who's just the very top of the division, and then previous to that had beaten California Queen in the Matchmaker, but Great Island just not enjoying herself in the Woodbine debut over the wet track there. So it's Muta Makina at 8-1. I got to imagine if you were somebody who liked Muta Makina, let's say you put $20 on Muta Makina this morning, you bet on your account, you walked away, and then you heard, oh, Muta Makina won. You're thinking, oh, okay, cool. I'll open up my account. There'll probably be like $50 or $60 in there, and you're going to open up your account to $180.
That's true.
And I think you'd be shocked.
It's fun when that happens. It actually happened earlier this week, the stakes race at Belmont. A horse trombetta set up named Og Lutz, who had run in the Duchess Stakes at Woodbine. That's how I knew her. And she ran in the stake at Belmont, and I just bet $20 to win in the morning. I looked up and I had $480 in my account.
She was like 19-1, right?
She was 12 on the morning line. One more point to make about California Queen. This is interesting. Just when you think about it, Jessica, I'm sure you'll agree with this, that California Queen had shown a lot of closing speed in her last 2 races. She went from 4th to 3rd, beating a half length. She went from 2nd 2.5 back to a half back. And I don't know if the plan was to put her on the lead or she just found herself on the lead. But when you put a closer on the lead, you dull their late speed. And I think that's one of the reasons why, unfortunately, she got passed by both Muda Makina and by La Dragon T in the stretch.
Yeah, I think that's fair. She seems like a pretty tactical sort of horse, though. Doesn't have this massive turn of foot. So I wonder if Flavien kind of felt the ground and thought that wasn't going to translate and put her where he thought she could do the best.
Yeah.
So as you see Dylan Davis there in the winner's circle at Woodbine, the GH Mum Champagne winner's circle, trained by Christophe Clement. And, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around 8-1 on this horse. I mean, winning, the sort of local lead-in race and then still going off at 8-1. It is really, really surprising. But again, as Ellis pointed out earlier, when there's money that comes in on a horse or two that maybe was not as expected, like on the brown horses, but not that was expected, but when more money comes in than expected, it obviously allows other horses' prices to go up. And you're getting $19.80 for a $2 win bet on Muta Makina.
Jessica said the exact is, for two horses that just won Grade 2 races.
Yeah, that needs a sharp stick in the eye. That's not so bad.
$127.
Even the dollar try, $366. I mean, this was a very havable trifecta. I mean, if you could get past at 12, you decided for whatever reason you didn't want to buy into, Waliak, making the U.S. debut. I mean, these were the other three, right? I mean,
they made sense.
Yeah, no real surprises there. So this was the first leg of the pick four. Just to update folks, since we're still alive.
Still alive on both tickets.
We're still alive on both tickets. Here's ticket number one. You can see we've got the 6 in there in the first leg. Second leg, we got the 8. We will speak about the 8. The spectacular number 8 here, who's going to probably be a very, very heavy favorite when we see the odds flash in a moment. And the backup ticket here, 1-2-6-8. So we got a little more coverage here. And then we're single to Admiralty Pier in the Nearctic Stakes. The Nearctic Stakes is our second feature on this show here, Woodbine Live season finale. We want to hear from you. So if you are watching, drop us a line in the comments. Tell us who you think will win the Nearctic Stakes. Post time for that one is at 5:44 Eastern time. So 55 minutes from now. And a really nice field there as well. They're going 6 furlongs on the turf. And, I mean, it's a 10-horse field. I think you can make a case for a number of different horses. We'll dig into that race in a moment. Let's go back, though, to last year and take a look at the 2020 Nearctic Stakes.
As they come for home in the Nearctic Stakes, down to the final quarter, Silent Poet in front. Kenthucker dives up on the inside to make a run, and down the centre, City Boy, and finishing on his Blind Ambition. Kenthucker switching course, but Silent Poet goes on the inside. Silent Poet in second, City Boy a length away, Kenthucker, and behind them is Olympic Runner finishing on pretty well, but it's still Silent Poet in front. City Boy trying desperately. Silent Poet in front of the Nearctic, and this one's for you, Martha. Silent Poet's won it.
Just such a game horse, such a local favorite as well. You saw Olympic Runner in that race. Olympic Runner will come back here. He finished 4th last year in the Nearctic. 8th in the Woodbine Mile last out, but prior to that won the King Edward and finished 2nd in the Connaught Cup. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But let's talk about this first. We got an allowance race. We mentioned the 8-horse in this upcoming allowance race is going to be getting a lot of love. Who wants it? Do you guys want to do rock, paper, scissors for it, or how do you want to?
I like a long shot in here too.
Go.
Long shots lead. Go ahead, Jessica.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm and this is one of those horses that I need to see him in the paddock before I'm committing here. But that's number 5, Corsi. Huge layoff, massive layoff.
Mm-hmm.
But he looked like the real deal back in 2019. I was always surprised when the honor codes kind of hit the ground running and ran a little bit. They were a little more precocious than I ever thought they'd be. And this horse, sometimes these things, this is what I'm going to keep telling myself, is these setbacks and these times for rest are blessings in disguise. This is what, the whole mantra I'm going through. But for horses, especially young horses, it really is. So sometimes going to the sidelines for a year or two does nothing but benefit them, even for whatever. I mean, obviously he got hurt or something happened, but those things, everything heals, and you wonder if that just gave him time to grow up, fill out, do all of the things, especially like the honor codes need time. They turn into these massive, like mature looking horses once they really develop. So I think that only works to his favor. He looked like he had a ton of talent. The work tab's been steady, at least. I mean, it's not eye popping, but I don't really think Josie Carroll's work tabs really ever are. And so he's one I really want to see. Like if he looks heavy, if he looks a little unfit, then I'd pass on him. But if he looks reasonably tight, I think he's a big factor.
I wish we would have spoken earlier, because this is a horse that I'm so scared of, and I was gonna send Ellis a note to say, hey, can we squeeze this horse into a ticket somewhere? But of course I didn't, because I was like, look, that's just me being hopeful. This is just wishful thinking. And then of course you gotta mention him as the horse that you like as your long shot play.
I do. But you can easily make a case here. Like if he's a super short price, he's not worth. He's one that to me has to be double-digit odds, and he has to sell himself in the paddock. Otherwise, I don't care that he was a precocious 2-year-old.
Yeah, it's tough. We wish we had unlimited budget. That would be great. I mean, he was on one of the many draft tickets we had in this race. So
And in Ellis's defense, I mean, we were, if anyone here was privy to the email thread where we made him restructure the ticket about 6 times today.
6.
Let's Ellis. 60 times. Okay.
Yeah, and I just politely let you guys do. I let you guys do the side figure problems today.
So you can see we got the first flash of the odds there, and the 8 horse 1 to 2 is going to go off. I think not too far from that price. It's going to be less than even money, I would assume. Ellis, why is everyone in love with the 8 horse Artie?
Everybody loves a horse that wins by open length. So Artie won his debut at this 6.5 furlong outer turf trip, identical. Field of 8, and he came from off the pace, so he showed maturity first time out. Came from 6th, drew off by 9 lengths, and got a very strong Equibase food figure 102, which is allowance quality. It came back, stayed in a race that was scheduled for grass. It was run on the main track at 6 furlongs, and did the same thing. This time he stalked in 3rd, a little bigger field. His debut had 8 horses. His second race had 10. Stalked in 3rd, got up 1 by 4 lengths. Powerful number, got a 108 Equibase figure. That's a grade 1. When we talk about, for example, the Nearctic, we talked about last year. I use the Connaught Cup. Connaught Cup winner is about 103. This year 112. So in that range, that's a great 8. This horse could have run in the Nearctic if they wanted to do that, but they're moving him through conditions instead, which is fine. So that's the reason why open lengths and big figures. I will say though, I think our ticket was good, even though I would have liked to use Corsi. For those that saw the ticket flash, we used Artie on one ticket, hoping to get some spread the other leg.
If Corsi wins, there will be some laptops tossed here.
Well, I tell you what, at currently at 22 to 1, I think we should all bet $5 to win on him. Either in case he wins, or just to crush his chances to be a black cat. Just one of those two things we can do to do that. I think I'll do that as soon as one of you starts talking again. But we did use the 1, 2, and the 6. We used Clayton. Clayton actually debuted as strongly as Artie did, but that was back in November of 2019. Talk about Corsi, for example, being off. Clayton debuted 23 months ago and won by 7.5. I mean, that was a horse that showed a lot of promise. Second at this level, that was an all-weather in June. So it was off for 7 months and came back as a 3-year-old last year. Second, first, won the plate trial last year, all the way out to 2 turns. And
you have to wonder if this is a prep race to get him back going to go 2 turns.
It is absolutely true, except for the fact that I'm sure, Jeff, you look for representative races, and I would agree 90% with what you said. This is a prep, except for the fact he won fresh in November, and at 7 furlongs, which is awfully tough, he came back and got beat a length by Lucky Curlin, who's a really nice horse who, if I'm not correct, is running in the Nearctic. So. He could fire fresh. The works are fairly good. I mean, 10th out of 97, best of 52. So I think Kevin Attard is giving him a lot. He's also got Lenny Kay, who we used, who, if you look at just speed figures, Lenny Kay, I can ignore the mile, probably further than he wants to run. And before that, at 6 furlongs, he battled the entire last 1/8 of a mile, for anybody looking at PPs, that one number before the finish is the eighth of a mile mark, the eighth pole. And he was a neck in front at the eighth pole and a neck in front of the wire. That's a battle. And
I do like that he's had brain surgery over the, since he's been away, which,
okay.
Judging by some of his running lines, he does seem like a horse who was a little unfocused. So that can sometimes get them a little more.
Interesting note. And that 3 furlong blowout is really fantastic when you're going to run a sprint like this. But back to compare him real quick. When he won that allowance race on August 8th, that got a 102 figure. Now we're going to go back. Artie's debut was a 102. So if Artie hadn't run that much better second time out, there'd be a big issue here considering Lenny K's 19 and Artie's 1-5. So I think the case could be made that if Artie does, for any reason, not run his A race, Lenny K can win the race. And the other one we threw in was the what did we throw in? We threw in the 2, Looking to Strike. I think Sheri wanted me to add it. It was tough for me because he's 1 for 9 this year and last year, but he's 4 for 8 at Woodbine. And he's never won at the 6.5 furlongs, but he's 5 for 13 on the main track. And the third in the Bold Venture to Pink Lloyd. I mean, we all know Pink Lloyd and Lucky Curlin, who's running the Nearctic, and now he's taking a step back to this allowance condition. So we got some nice prices there. I'm really surprised though to see Looking to Strike at 7, and Lenny K, who was 4-1 morning line, is now 18.
Yeah, it kind of went opposite directions there. Looking to Strike, I think is an interesting horse as well. Obviously, loves Woodbine since sort of running more consistently at Woodbine, dating back to July of this year. Has kind of had mixed results, but there's a lot of back form as well, specifically. When you look at sort of the latter part of last year, is running behind horses like Silent Poet. And so I think it's just a matter of whether or not you believe this horse is kind of back trending in the right direction, because it's been a while since he's been in the winner's circle. I think it's been 8 races since he's been in the winner's circle. But if you believe he's back sort of trending in the right direction, I think what everyone here is hoping for is that maybe Artie has an off day. And, when you guys were having your back and forth about Clayton and saying, hey, is this a setup race? It certainly looks like one. And I'd agree with that. And Ellis's point, I think, is, hey, it might be, but he still might be good enough to win this race. I think most allowance races, he's probably good enough to win at the 62 KOC level here. But Artie, is the one sort of issue here, right? That's the one horse standing in his way. Minus Artie, I think you could say, hey, look, he's good enough to win this. I think Artie has to have an off day in order for Clayton to win this race.
Our friend Corsi, who may ruin our tickets, and your guy Dan, I gotta say, watching him in the paddock, I like everything I'm seeing about this horse. I want to see him on the track, and I want to see him move a little bit. But I mean, boy, Honor Code really produces a good-looking horse.
Oh God. Okay, now I'm going.
I also like that he's getting what I always in my mind refer to this as the grade 1 treatment with a groom on each side, and you have to think that this is a horse who's probably ready to run if he gets that kind of treatment.
Yeah. So I'm going on my betting account, and I'm going to right now. Ellis, do you think so? For people who are just hopping on, I got your backup ticket there. I'll show our primary pick 4 ticket here, where we've got the 8 single. We've already hit with an 8-1 in the first leg, so that is the way you want to start off a ticket like this. Especially considering with this one, if we get Artie home, even though he's a short price and we're singled, we've got a number of different possibilities in the last 2 legs to catch another price or 2, and then we're starting to feel really good about this ticket. But if you're just hopping in and you want to get in on action right now, would you approach a late pick 3 here? Would you play a double here? Would you wait until the Nearctic Stakes race 10 and then play a double into the last?
Well, you could play a pick 3, but the problem with the pick 3 again is the last race on the card is always the toughest race. That's the super high 5 race. It's usually a maiden. In this case, it's a claiming non-winners at 2. On our ticket, we went we went fairly deep. 7 horses on one ticket and all on the other. I prefer that if people are going to play, you play a double here, and you're getting value. You can take Artie and then take some of the longer odds horses in the next race. Just an example, you might take Lucky Curlin, we talked about 10-1. You might take Olympic Runner at 6-1. You can check on most ADW what the will pays are. If you want to try and beat Town Cruise, you want to try and beat Admiralty Pier to some extent. On the other hand, if you go with Clayton, Look at the Strike, or Lenny K, or Corsi, then you can use the favorite in the next race. But you also need to use Admiralty Pier. I think that's the horse that we single on one ticket that I personally feel very strong about. But we made the cases on this ticket that's flashing there. We made the cases in this race on the ticket that doesn't have Admiralty Pier. We used everybody. I wanted a ticket we talked about for a while. The horses that we were going to use were Olympic Runner, AV Splatter, Lucky Curlin, Momos. I know Sheri liked Momos. She'll be back to make a case for Momos. Town Cruise, who won the Woodbine Mile, who I think has a shot, but he's not. I don't think he's 2-1. I don't think he has 33% chance to win the race. And Jolie Olympica, who won the Nassau one race before last. So I would play doubles in this sequence, Dan, not try and get into the pick three. Unless you want to take 2 or 3 horses in this one and not Artie, and then 2 or 3 in the next, and just everybody. It's only a 20-cent pick three, so you could do that with the pick three.
I can never, when I'm playing the races or publicly giving any opinions, I can't bring myself to ever hit the all button. I can't do it.
Have you ever?
I understand the use of it. I understand the need. Like, I understand the point. It's just.
Yeah, it feels. I just want to ask you: have you ever had success with it? Have you ever done it and won with it, like in a big way, where you got the longest shot or something?
Are you asking me or Ellis?
Oh no, I'm asking you, Jessica.
Oh no, I won't hit the all button.
You just never done it. And
I mean, I'll occasionally do an exacta, like a horse I really like all. Like in the Derby, that's something I'll do, but that's in a multi race, I really won't usually. I'd rather live and die by whatever wacky opinion I have. But it's probably why I don't always cash my tickets.
Well, I respect that, and obviously, if anyone who's watching has spent more than 5 minutes on Twitter, they've seen the back and forth between Ellis and the rest of Twitter.
Not the rest of Twitter.
No, I'm kidding.
And it's a valid discussion.
I'd rather chew glass than hit the all button, to be honest. But
no, and I respect that. And look, I saw a ticket. Yeah, did you guys see the ticket I retweeted yesterday? I mean, this sounds like weird that I would ask if you saw my tweet, but
sorry.
Did you see what I put on the Twitter machine? It's like it's like my mom was on Facebook. Did you see what I put on Facebook? The video. There was a guy who bet a $2 double, all with all, and there were enough combinations that the price of the ticket was like $300, and it cashed for like $6,500.
What track?
Which is cool. Like, but that's luck.
That's
like playing the lottery.
That's never going to work over the long haul.
No.
But it worked for him last night. I think it was like Remington or something. I think it might have been Remington.
It is very possible. I mean, you can get 3 or 4 long shots when you go 5 or 6 deep. Just for folks that don't know what Dan's talking about, there's an ongoing discussion, which is very important.
Which I find very interesting to read. I'm just glad I'm not usually the subject.
Yeah, it's much more about other analysts than me, thank goodness. But it's an ongoing discussion about making the perfect bets for long-term profit and being willing to sacrifice lots of profits in the meantime, or lots of cashes, versus finding a fine line and trying to cash some bets and making a profit on those bets in which you do cash that still grinds out a profit. And it has to do with the people that strive to play professionally versus the most of the people that come to the track. I'm a human every day.
It's a different thing too. Like I'm a public handicapper. I'm not a professional horse player.
Yeah.
So my goal generally, and again, Dan, you might laugh at this too, is to not get made fun of on Twitter. Like that's just, typically, whenever I post a tweet, I'm like, how is someone going to make fun of this? Like I really try to construct it in a smart-ish way. But I feel like my role as a public handicapper is different than a professional horse player. I want to give someone something to think about, an insight, a long shot, an opinion that they can't get from reading the form.
Yeah,
no, it's the ticket. Dan knows it's and I don't do this except some of my blogs. It's the people that give out the pick 3 and pick 4 tickets for some of the major publications and TV, and they're good.
Everyone knows what we're referring to here. Like anyone watching.
You know, so, and I will say, I for whatever reason, I don't know if it's this discussion or the fact that we're just a couple of minutes away from race 9, which we're going to show you live here before the Nearctic Stakes, but our viewership count is actually steadily climbing throughout this discussion. So
let's not bore them with this one.
But yeah, go ahead.
Can we circle back to that the 5 Corsi again?
No, you're really as much as I can. Terrible when this horse wins.
Yeah, no, this is like maybe he's not good enough, but by all accounts, he and Artie, you know, they have a very similar record. For me, it's just a question of if he's fit enough, and if I'm playing this race as is, I'm playing him over Artie.
You know, it's funny. I mean, the 2-year layoff aside. They run pretty identical. I mean, look, you know, Artie's run bigger numbers, sure, and his margin of victories have been a touch larger, but they've done the same thing, right? I mean, they won on debut impressively and came back and then won a first level allowance.
Well, and if we're picking nits here, and you kind of have to if you're taking 1 to 2 favorite. He already did last win against an off the turf race. So he showed he can run on synthetic. That's great. Mm-hmm. But you wonder if sometimes the quality of those fields changed a little bit when they come off the grass and they stay in.
And that's an interesting point too. I mean, if you're just looking at your program right now, whatever you're handicapping with, you know, I always I always try to remind myself to be more critical and to look at those kinds of, because you see a big number there. You see a 97 Beyer speed figure in that last race for Artie. But again, that race was washed off the turf. It's a 10-horse race where those horses were meant to run on the turf. So it's not a minor point there. That's a pretty significant point. And so, yeah, he won by 4 lengths, but he beat a bunch of turf horses on the dirt by 4.
And I know synthetic and turf sometimes are interchangeable, but sometimes they're really not.
Yeah. So, look, all that to say, I appreciate also just you guys both dissecting the, you know, the whole, you know, Twitter, you know, discussion and all that. But I think it's fair as long as you keep it civil. And I think that's the one thing when I, over the years, I used to engage more on Twitter. I've totally backed out. I'm more of an observer these days because the conversation is no longer civil. Sometimes when it goes into, you know, ticket construction, all the rest of that, it turns into like harassment and bullying, and I can't stand for that. On any level.
Be nice, people. Like you kind of just have to be nice and.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
This isn't brain surgery. Like none of what we're doing is brain surgery. Like we're not curing cancer. Right. We're trying to pick a winner.
Here's what's interesting about this race. We'll get back to while they're running. You know, one thing I didn't see, and I should ask Jessica earlier, is I don't see a horse that really wants to have the lead. It's going to be interesting to see the strategy of who goes. Jessica, do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. This race, no one really wants to go out front. I wonder if maybe Lenny K kind of gets it by default.
Yep, that's a possibility. Magical Man has on occasion been more forwardly placed, possibly him. Looking to strike, it's going to be within a length or two. But I did find it a challenge too to kind of figure out who is going to be the exact horse. I like the way you're thinking of Lenny K. I mean, I can't imagine he's too far off of it.
He's dropped in odds, by the way, from 17 to 7. So,
all right. So we're watching the horses load here for the allowance that's sandwiched in between the E.P. Taylor and the Nearctic Stakes. We'll show you this race live. We'll show you the Nearctic live. As a reminder, our team pick 4 tickets, single to Artie below the 8 horse. Let's see what happens.
Perfect line. Away well was the favourite Artie going for the early lead. Nearer the centre, Striking Moon, and bursting through the pack is Corsi, and up the rails Clayton, showing speed to go to the front. Nothing was overly keen to be there, so Clayton's gone out in the lead by 3/4. In second is Corsi, 3 wide Artie on the outside. About 3 parts to Striking Moon, tugs along in 4th, and up the rails making ground is Looking to Strike. Behind them in the centre, Lenny K. On the outside of which is Speedy Hans. 1 away last is Magical Man. Clayton with the neck stretched out by a length to Corsi. Artie's covered ground. Over on the inside, Looking to Strike is pinching ground. In the centre, Striking Moon, a length away, and behind them are Lenny K and Speedy Hans, and last of all is Magical Man. Clayton in front, has them starting to push, and it's Clayton by a length and a half. Artie's getting to work now around the outside to test this leader. Up the rails, looking to strikes, had a good run. Corsi is in the centre under pressure and finishing on Lenny Kay, and down the outside of the track, Speedy Hans. Clayton's in front. The whip is out on Artie, and now coming on the outside, Lenny Kay. Lenny Kay finishing better than Artie, has gone up to hit the front with Clayton under pressure too, and down the outside, Speedy Hans. Clayton and Lenny Kay. Lenny Kay's in front narrowly. It's the Kevin Attard pair, Lenny Kay and Clayton. Clayton's fighting back as they go down to the wire. A head bob between the two. Clayton on the inside or Lenny Kay the outer. It's a head bob to decide that one. And back in third was Artie. And behind them, Striking Moon.
Did Lenny Kay get up? No, right?
I think the inside.
Oh, Lenny Kay would have been nice for us.
Yeah. Well, you never know, because the morning line was 4-1 Lenny Kay and 9-2 on Clayton. So in one respect, you'd rather have Clayton win, just if the morning line, because people were betting based on that. The off odds, certainly you're correct.
Ooh, well, Lenny
That's
Kay
very close.
Yeah, Lenny Kay got the best of the bob, but might not have been there. Just might not, still not have been ahead. So,
well, it was certainly a good play on our part. We just have to hope now for the single, because the favorite was the one that we took a shot with. But it still is a really good ticket. And again, for people that you asked Dan about playing doubles, this is where you take a shot. You take the other horses, but Artie, with 3 or 4 horses in the next race, and there's going to be some very sweet doubles with this 3 to 5 going down here.
We are now only showing Ellis's backup pick for, which we're also invested in. We had faith in Ellis's backup too. So now we're all Admiralty Pier fans. He's
we are.
Ellis, remind me if I'm wrong. Admiralty Pier was good to you a couple of years ago at Tampa.
Well, that was the race. The Tampa Bay Stakes, 21-1, where there was so much bumping, and it took 20 minutes to solve the race, and it was an amazing race. And he held on by a nose, and they did not take him down. So I recall that being. I think that was during the NHC, which I wasn't in, but I was at, and it was pretty good. But he's also a very consistent horse. I mean, he was second by a half a length to Silent Poet in the Connaught Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So. I always wonder when they show this head on if that's natural, if there's no objection sign up. But Kevin Attard certainly had his horses fit for this race.
I mean, Lenny Kay looked like he was going right by, didn't he?
Yeah, and it was very, very Gallardo. Gallardo. We talked about before the race. We didn't know who'd lead, right? Gallardo said, "Nobody wants it. I'll go." Clayton did win it by a nostril.
That's what it was. The ride there was spectacular. Gallardo is really.
It was a great decision to go up north for the season. He'll come back, of course, to Tampa, where he rides so well.
I wish I would have seen this comment before. I believe this was posted before the race went off. It's an 8-6. So
okay.
I thought he had 1-6. Okay.
Man.
He had the 6. So there's that. Well, close. Just the one.
I'm also glad that our win bets on Corsi did the job.
Yeah. No, thank you.
We'll get back to Corsi in a minute.
He wasn't quite fit enough for the weight of Dan.
Exactly.
Wait, what's this, Dan?
Which is considerable. This is, I believe, Turkish.
The 1-6. Okay.
I feel like we have a very large audience in Turkey, and
that's fantastic.
Or that's at least where the bots are. So
I watch more Turkish racing than I care to admit to when I was working at Trackus.
Nice. And that's are they big on streaming? Are they big on like racing live streams?
Racing's really popular there. It was all very interesting.
Ooh, it sounds like you want to tell us more, but you're not sure if you should.
Let me just tell you, watching racing from Belafende in Turkey on Christmas morning at 5 a.m. by yourself was not a high point of my holiday season.
Oh boy, yeah, maybe next time I see you, tell me a little bit more about that. Oh my God! All right, we are moving into the feature here. Bad news for Greg Tarkoudian behind the scenes here, who's looking to get out of this stream as soon as possible. If we're alive, if Admiralty Pier wins, we're obviously sticking around for the last. So that goes without saying, because we got to see how much money we're going to win. We're going to get a look here at the first odds for the Arctic Stakes coming up in a moment. We've mentioned Admiralty Pier, the horse we're single to now collectively. It's no longer Alice's backup ticket. It's all of our ticket. So we're praying for Admiralty Pier. Admiralty Pier finished second last out in the Highlander Stakes. Let's take a look back at that race, the Highlander.
As they turn and they come at Caravel. Silent Poet up on the outside and deeper out City Boy. Behind them Chuck Willis trying to run home his turn decided. Going up and hitting the front. Silent Poet's got the lead from Caravel. Silent Poet is back. Silent Poet dashing on. Down the outside Admiralty Pier with a launch from last position. Silent Poet in front. Admiralty Pier coming at the rate of knots as well. Silent Poet in front. Admiralty Pier out the ground, but Silent Poet has won the Highlander Stakes. Admiralty Pier second.
So that was a hell of a finish that day. And again, Silent Poet winning another one of our backtrack races here. Silent Poet, spectacular. Admiralty Pier, though, a horse who we'd seen run repeatedly at 1 1/8, 1 16, even 1.5 miles, cuts back to 6 furlongs and almost catches Silent Poet there. He was 12-1, by the way, that day, and now comes back. Forget about stretching back out. Comes back at 6 furlongs for the Nearctic Stakes. We know Ellis loves Admiralty Pier. Jessica, where do you place Admiralty Pier when you start stacking up these horses here for the Nearctic?
So this race really is such a weird pace scenario to me because I don't know what this horse does. I mean, that was a huge closing kick, like a massive, like he just gobbled up ground. But primarily, this is a front runner. So I'm curious if that was a new tactic that they continue today. He has speed, and I think he's quick enough out of the gate to have speed sprinting too. So I'm really curious what he does. That said, I mean, if he is able to take off them again, he certainly should have pace to run at. I'm intrigued by Momos. I know Sheri also likes him as well. I'm intrigued at a big price. I'm not entirely convinced he's good enough, but I liked his last race quite a bit.
So speaking of getting to the lead, Admiralty Pier has Antonio Gallardo up, who we just saw a moment ago with Clayton go right to the lead and stay there. So maybe we see similar tactics.
No.
On the inside as well. I think the inside draw certainly helps.
No, I don't want him to. I don't want him to.
Well, I know we probably don't want him to, but I mean, well, Momos has got some speed too. So wait, Jessica, elaborate a little bit. I mean, we'll let Sheri get in her argument for Momos. Is it so obviously the horse was trained by Christophe Clement, in the past, had run some nice races, obviously with Trombetta now. What is it that stands out to you about Momos?
Just kind of a lightly raced sort of horse. I mean, sprinter pedigree every which way. It seems really to have taken to the turf. I like that his speed translates a little bit. And I thought he was just really game in defeat. Sometimes you see a horse have a loss and you like them a little bit more in defeat than maybe you did in some of their wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. And obviously, look, 20-1 morning line, the 8-horse Momos, 13-1. First flash here we're seeing of the odds. Your favorite, 12-1 in the morning line, Jolie Olympica, currently 3-1. The 10-horse.
Wow.
I gotta imagine there's going to be some major movement on this board here over the next 26 minutes or so. Admiralty Pier is 10-1. There's no way Admiralty Pier is going off at 10-1. Reconfigure a long shot. I like a little bit the 2-horse, 47-1. The 3-horse Olympic Runner, lots of back class, really nice horse. 5-1 right now off a 6-1 morning line. The 4 White Flag is a horse that I like quite a bit. 9-1. I cannot see that happening either. This horse 5-1 I think goes up at 5-1 or shorter. The 5 Avies Flatter, 8-1 morning line down to 5-1. 6 Turned Aside, 11-1. Another long shot taking some early money, very early money, 20-1 down to 11-1. The 7 Lucky Curlin. This is one who I figured would take money off a 10-1 morning line. Irad Ortiz into ride for Mark Cassie. 9-2 currently, coming off a second place finish in the Bold Venture. The 8 Momos, who I mentioned a moment ago, 20-1 down to 13-1. The 9 Town Cruise, Woodbine Mile winner last out. He's been in great form. I don't know why the Woodbine Mile winner cuts back to 6, unless it's sort of a tightener for the Breeders' Cup Mile, which I believe they said they're going to go to, right? And then you got Jolie Olympica, 12-1 down to 3-1. Again, a little bit of a wacky board to open up. I don't know, Ellis, what's the most surprising thing on this board to you so far?
Well, the grade 1 winner being 6-1, and Jolie Olympica being bet, by 75% from 12-1 to 3-1. But again, there's the scale thing going on. The reason I mentioned earlier about I understand Admiralty Pier, and I wish I should have asked our producer to we could talk stats race lens and show a few things. But the good news is looking at lifetime PPs. Let me talk about Admiral Pure. Even though you're right on the cutback from 9 to 6.5, he did become a closer here, and that could have been just the strategy. It could have been Gallardo reading what was going on. But going back to his career, Admiral broke his maiden at 6.5 on the grass, wire to wire, back in 2017. He lost by a nose at 7 furlongs, November of his 2-year-old year. He shortened up again for the Play the King. He ran 5th in 2019. But more importantly, as we're talking about the Connaught Cup last July, he led from the start and just got run down late. So he is a horse that has that kind of a late kick and speed. That's why he's so dangerous. I think there's no way in my mind that Momos and Town Cruise don't both go for the lead. And when you look down that first column and looking at PPs of where they are after a quarter mile, all I see of Momos is 1-1-1-1, 7, 1-2-1. And for Town Cruise, I see 1-1-1-1, 2-3-1-1. So I see two horses that their psychology is I've got to have the lead at any cost. And then Reconfigure, who you mentioned, this is a claiming horse running in a grade 2, but his last 2 races he's been on the lead or just slightly off. So I personally am hoping that 2, 8, and 9 go out and go a little too fast for their own good, which sets up hopefully Admiral Pure for a ticket. But it could just easily be Olympic Runner, could be Jolie Olympica, could be Lucky Curlin, could be White Flag.
Momo's going to the lead, I think. I think it's Momo's on the lead. Go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, so I want to on Momos with the one thing, and this is kind of this weird, bigger racing issue, right? That we have to talk about. He runs better with Lasix. I think this is a horse who maintains his speed a little bit better when he's able to compete with Lasix, which he gets back today because he was racing at Saratoga, so no medication there. But those 2 efforts that with Lasix, I know he only won one of them, but he did seem to hang a little bit tougher those days. Yeah. So this is a horse, I mean, definitely going to the lead. And that worked him at Fairhill seems like it's been quite aggressive too. So I think he's coming in pretty sharp.
That's a really, you know what, and I had totally overlooked that as well. That he was off Lasix in the last 2, and in that race at Monmouth in July was also over a yielding turf course and ran a really nice race. Went really fast and then hung on to finish second there. And
that's with the Monmouth issue. Like that's with the thing that they get taken away at Monmouth too. So this is why handicapping is so hard.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what's going on at Monmouth, you also don't know that they're racing without stick there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's a really good call. Yeah, no, really good call there on Momos. And I think, look, I mean, some of that's being reflected in some of the action that he's taking early. He's still 14-1, which is a fat price if you like the horse. We talked about the pace scenario a little bit. Town Cruise as well, who's been forwardly placed from the start of his career, but has been on the lead almost every single race here going back to late last year. Let's take a look back at one of the races, his most recent race, the Woodbine Mile.
Running on well is Avies Flatter. On the outside, Space Traveller. Then change of control up the inside. March to the arch. Rider Comet swings wide, as does Raging Bull. Set Piece is still well back. Now they're coming. Avies Flatter after Town Cruise with Duke of Hazard. And right down the outside, Rider Comet. Olympic Runner the setter. Set Piece is getting to work now. The leader remains Town Cruise. Town Cruise on the inside in front. A cavalry charge down the outside. Space Traveller and Rider Comet and Raging Bull. But Daisuke Fukumoto stole this year's Rico Woodbine Mile with Town Cruise.
Interestingly, Town Cruise's best career race right there without Lasix and remains off Lasix here.
JD had him like every which way that day, right? I'm not
And also, Sheri, Sheri was super big on Town Cruise that day. Like, if you were watching the show that day, you had Town Cruise, and he was 8-1, and I think he went into the gate at like 26-1. So you're probably pretty angry, but nonetheless, he still got 8-1 on him. So that's that, and you saw sort of, I guess, midway through the race, Avies Flatter kind of made a move, and then completely faded. Finished 9th. What do you guys make of Avies Flatter, the 5 horse? Still, despite that poor finish, I don't know if I'm assuming mean, I probably shouldn't assume this, but I mean, this is listed. It could probably be found. I'm assuming the horse bled. I mean, it was, the horse was right up there, finished 9th. It just completely stopped first time off Lasix, now back on Lasix. I mean, I think that's
if it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it's probably, not a zebra.
Yeah. And now, I mean, I guess, I certainly hadn't scared anyone off A.B. Splatter, right? You're looking at the 5 horse 6-1 after finishing 9th in that race. Prior to that, finished 4th in the King Edward. Do you guys like A.B. Splatter at all?
I don't dislike him, and he also has a good race in yielding. This was another horse that we talked about, the last race horse that went in the Queen's Plate, the Prince of Wales, the Breeders, and then started selling in some other races. I mean, his Connaught Cup race at 7 furlongs on a good course was good, and I think he also, just a second, I was looking while you were talking about having a race on a really, really wet course. So he seemed to run very well on a really, really wet course before. I believe that he's got a good shot. What is he right? And he's another one of those, but he's being fed accordingly. But we talked about in the E.P. Taylor, you have grade 2 winners and grade 1 winners in this race. So a horse that has a graded stakes win in a recent race, kind of like A.B. Splatter, with a grade 2 win in the Connaught Cup in July, has to be respected here to some extent.
Yeah. You know what? We actually have that race queued up. So let's take a look back at that Connaught Cup race in which A.B. Splatter, over a good track at Woodbine, ran a really impressive race.
A.B. Splatter's right there. Escaminson on the outside as they turn from Olympic Runner. Down the set of Proven Strategies from Gray's Fable and Tapper to win. And going up is Chuck Willis. Chuck Willis and Silent Poet tackled by A.B. Splatter on the outside. Proven Strategies running on as A.B. Splatter's bound to the front. It's A.B. Splatter getting away from the opposition. Olympic Runner coming into the picture. It's A.B. Splatter 2 in front. Olympic Runner to second. A.B. Splatter being chased home by Olympic Runner in the Connaught Cup. A.B. Splatter hanging on. A.B. Splatter the winner. Along there.
There's A.B. Splatter. Runner up there was Olympic Runner. Again, another game horse who won the King Edward 2 races back. I'm looking at this board and I'm still like, okay, what is going on?
What are we missing?
With Julie Olympica? What is going on? It's 5-2.
I think it may be Rosario. They're looking at Rosario coming in to ride and how hot he's been lately, perhaps. Again, grade 2 winner. The Nassau was a big race, a mile, cutting back to 6. So, one question. One of you mentioned something about Tangruz going to the Breeders' Cup. He's going to come back in 2 weeks rest?
I mean, I heard they were going. I mean, they got the free ticket, right? I mean, they got the free entry. So,
a mile to 6 furlongs to a mile. I guess stranger things have happened before, but that's awesome.
I mean, I heard they were going. I mean, this was probably about a week and a half ago. I mean, maybe something changed, but I mean, I heard they were going. I see Sheri in the paddock. We're going to go to Sheri in a moment here. Sheri, you there? You with us?
Hi, I am. How are you guys?
Great,
Don't blow away.
Really warm and cozy.
Okay, so I was listening to what you guys were saying about the filly, about Jolie Olympica. I think I can tell you why. Maybe there's a lot of money being bet on her.
What's
If
going
you
on?
notice, well, here's what I think. And maybe it's just because that was the first turf race that we've seen actually in this week. Is there didn't seem to be a lot of give in it as much as everybody thought. Like we didn't see, after watching the replay of the E.P. Taylor, there wasn't a lot of chunks of dirt flying up. So maybe
Yeah, I was surprised by that too.
think that it's not as yielding as we originally thought. So I think that's why there's a lot of money going towards the filly.
Well, Sheri.
Now that's just my take, right?
I have a question for Sheri though. You say that, but then they went 6 furlongs and almost 121. So how do you reconcile the two? I'm just curious. See, it's not as wet as it seems, but still.
I think it was more of a jockey game. In all honesty, I think that they were just trying to keep the fractions slow up front because maybe that was the strategy, to try to steal it as far as they could on the lead. But like I tell you, they were running. like that was such a fascinating race. They were running down the lane. It was really cool. But that's kind of like what my interpretation was, is that I think like maybe even they didn't realize that the turf was a little bit firmer than what they expected. So they just thought, okay, well, let's set as slow a pace as possible and see what we can do, right?
Sheri, we know you like Momos quite a bit. How do you see this race unfolding? We talked about the lead a little bit. I'm assuming you think you're going to be on the lead with that one.
Well, I think it's going to really depend on how the pace scenario sets up. And I heard you guys talking about Town Cruise. They originally were, they said that they weren't going to send him, and then they were going to send him, and then they said that they're choosing not to send him, and they're going to run him here instead.
Okay.
So he's not going to turn around and go into the Breeders' Cup 2.5 weeks. So I'll just clarify that right now. There was a posting by Daily Racing Forum that said that they were choosing here instead, their home base. So I think that they're not going to let him get it all his own way on the front. And like we know Momos is going to go as well, right? So I think it's going to really depend on how that pace sets up. Momos is not going to let Town Cruise get all the way on the lead on his own. It's just not going to happen. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how everything unfolds. Maybe they're going to just give her and it's going to be a closer's race, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a solid field though. Everybody looked really good. The one thing is Olympic Runner was a little bit nervous. So that's something to maybe keep in mind if, you were looking to play him. But he came outside and he looks fantastic. So I'm just going to flip it over so I can give you guys some type of a view here.
Sheri, before you do, I just have a quick question. Last time you were there at the track, you gave us Town Cruise at 8-1. In no, without a ton, I mean, you got a ton of help from Sienna, your daughter, who's not there today.
I know.
So 2 questions. One, do you find it interesting that she left you there on a day where you're freezing out there? And 2, who does she like in this race?
Well, let me tell you, it's Mom's day out because I'm with her 24/7. And Mom just wanted to have a little bit of a break. So Mom wanted to do her stuff without having to worry about Sienna today. But although I could use her pick, but if I was channeling Sienna, I would be thinking that she would go with, I think she would go back to the Woodbine Mile winner.
Town Cruise.
Because it worked for her once, so why wouldn't she do it again, right?
I like it. Keep it simple.
Yeah, I honestly think that that's what she would do.
Very nice.
But I can tell you, like all of the horses, they looked really, really calm. There was nobody. I know. Look at lovely hairdo, right? The wind is wonderful. They all looked very, very professional. Nobody was really, amped up, or they were taking in all of the surroundings. Luckily for us, the sun is shining. It's a little chilly with the wind, and there is a very, very strong wind. But honestly, I think it's a pretty even playing field for everybody. So I honestly think that, you know what, it's going to really, really depend on that pace. And if they let Town Cruise go all the way on the lead on his own, which I do not think that they will do, especially with Momos in the race. If Momos can harness his speed, I think he's got a shot. If he doesn't, well, then we'll see, right?
Let's real quick before we let you go, Sheri, because we know you got to get your bets in. But before we let you go, I want your take on one more horse. We talked about the pace potentially being hot here. I see a horse who's going to be sitting a dream trip. It looks like in really, really good form, and has a good race at this specific distance a year ago. Or actually, it was 2 years ago. You know what? It may have been 3 years ago. But honestly, 6 furlongs is right what White Flag wants, I think. And comes, second off the leg. Really, really nice race. Ellis will appreciate this. Looking up Equibase speed here. In that 2018 Turf Championship, ran a career best 113 there. I think the horse is headed in the right direction. Can stop the pace. Loves, I think, this distance, has run well at Woodbine. Why should I not bet White Flag, the 4 horse right now, at 7-1?
I think 7-1, honestly, is quite generous. And Emma's got her game face on today. You know that. She always does, right? And she will give him the best opportunity to win. I agree with you. Like, I was a little bit unsure with him just because of the turf situation. But now, you know, with the turf maybe not as yielding as I thought, I wouldn't hesitate to throw him in. And for 7-1, Dan, if you got a really solid feeling on it, I would give him a good win back. Because if that pace is as hot as we think it's going to be up front, he's going to be closing like a train. And he ran super here after kind of missing the break last out. So he should move forward off of that race. He really should.
Sheri, if there's like an angel and a devil, you're usually the angel, but right now you're the devil who's telling me to bet all of my money on White Flag, and I am going to listen to you. I am betting everything I have right now on White Flag.
The way we think it's going to set up, White Flag is going to come a running.
I
don't doubt.
I'm putting the bets in right now.
We need that pace scenario, Dan.
All right, Sheri, thank you so much for jumping in. Really appreciate you giving us a live look out there live from Woodbine.
Awesome. Anytime. Thanks for having me, guys, and good luck. Hopefully one of us cashes on this race.
One of us.
Bye from windy Woodbine.
Oh, Sheri's spectacular. Really appreciate her joining us there. I know it's cold. The elements are, you know, it looks great. You're at the track. Lots of fun. Great. But she is freezing out there. And really appreciate her, like, kind of pulling it together and being, you know, in spite of all of it, kind of giving us a look at the horses up close and giving us insights from the paddock. Jessica, what do you think about this White Flag? I mean, I'm falling in love here as I'm looking at this price.
You know, I see Sheri's points quite a bit here. That last race was really very good. Second off the layoff, my only question again, like being devil's advocate and picking nits and being a little picky. Such a big effort off of such a big layoff. You wonder if they bounce, right? Hi, SPN.
SPN is the best. So he was a never count out outfield. Emma Jane, White Flag comes flying late. Whenever he drops in this late sort of, you know, commentary gut feeling, SPN is usually pretty close, if not completely spot on.
Empty your bank account right now. That's
it. All your money on White Flag. He did. I'm looking for his comment earlier where he mentioned that they're skipping the Breeders' Cup, staying home with Town Cruise, like Sheri said. So thank you to Sheri and Sean as well for letting us know. I had read a report about 10 days ago that said they were super excited to go to the Breeders' Cup, but I guess that changed somehow. So, you know, look, so be it. It still seems a little odd to me that they're cutting back when this horse has had so much success, you know, going longer. I don't know why you're cutting back to 6 here, but maybe they're just, you know, they're trying to see where they could go with this horse moving forward. I don't know. Like, I just don't love the move, especially, you know, it's not like they entered the horse and then scratched when they realized that there was a lot of other pace potentially. They knew that there's other pace in this race, right? I mean,
right.
So, like, what's going on here? I don't love that. And look, Jolie Olympica, still 3-1. I mean, we have a couple of theories. Sheri threw a couple out. Maybe Rosario. Maybe, you know, people saw that you know, after watching the E.P. Taylor, that, you know, that there's nothing to be concerned about in terms of the surface, and maybe, I don't know, Jolie Olympica is close enough up and sits a nice trip, but I don't know. I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Let me add one more thing, and you know, for anybody that has past performances, if you, only the ones that even have 10 racing lines, her race right before importing to the U.S. was a mile on a left-handed course on the turf, heavy. It was a $40,000 Group 1 stakes race in Brazil, and she beat 13 horses by 6 lengths.
1 by 6.
Yeah.
1 by 6.
So the wet turf is apparently not a problem.
Okay, so that could be part of it. Yeah, the one U.S. race on something other than firm, on a good track in the San Simeon at Santa Anita, finished third. On Buyer speed figures, ran one of her lower numbers, ran an 87, but that was a small field, and, you know, whatever, that could, you know, you can give her a break on that one. Looked like she went pretty fast early in that race and just kind of gave it up late.
Well, here's something else is interesting. If I remember correctly, Rosario did not ride in the EP Taylor. So he's oh no, he loved Rendeck. Sorry, he did right.
Yeah.
He read very well. He loved Dragon T. Yeah, so it's certainly that. I think she fits on all counts. Again, grade 2 winner in a grade 2 race. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. But you also have, Admiralty Pier, the Connaught and the Highlander, a couple of seconds, grade 1, grade 2, White Flag, been around these kinds of races. There's a few here that fit. Connaught, this year's Connaught Cup winner, keep mentioning Avi Slatter. What's really interesting here for me is when you look, even though Jolie Olympica is 3-1, look at the odds spread on 5, 6 other horses, 9-2 to 8-1 on 6 other horses in this race. They all are second choices basically in the wagering.
Jolie Olympica 3-1 finished. Let's see this. Finished behind, well behind, Olympic Runner, the 3-horse, who's 7-1, and Town Cruise, who came back and ultimately won the Woodbine Mile, 9-horse, 9-2. That was in the King Edward Stakes. Let's take a quick look back at the stretch run of the King Edward Stakes.
Town Cruise well ahead. Olympic Runner giving chase. Gray's Fable, Avi's Flatter, Jolie Olympica march to the Arches, fairway back but running. Town Cruise only 2 in front. Olympic Runner and out wider Avi's Flatter. March to the Arches behind, running on, and they come after Town Cruise. Olympic Runner and Avi's Flatter. They've run up to hit the front with March to the Arch in 4th, but it's Olympic Runner in front, and Olympic Runner's day. Olympic Runner finally gets a big one. The King Eddie, Olympic Runner first, Town Cruise in a photo for second.
So that was Olympic Runner's breakthrough race. We haven't spoken much about Olympic Runner. 7-1 feels about right. I mean, any love, Jessica? What do you think?
I'm going to pass on Olympic Runner. I've sort of talked myself on to Lucky Curlin a little bit here, for whatever that's worth. The last race was fine. I actually like the win 2 starts back. The jockey switch to Ortiz is interesting. It looks like Gallardo went with other options, but it's still, I mean, you're not really losing getting an Ortiz.
Yep.
I'm strictly on speed figures. I'm not docking, but I don't think Lucky Curlin has run as fast as many of the others if they run their best races. But this is one of those races where at these divisions where horses at Woodbine specifically, they go in and out a lot. I mean, you see that in the form with, for example, Jolie Olympica winning the Nassau and then running that kind of a clunker in the King Edward. But I will point out also that the race in the Nassau came from a March to July layoff, and then the other was August 15th. It was only 22 days later. Maybe that was too quick. And now she's been off again for 2 months. She might like those little layoffs.
That's fair. Lucky Curlin, by the way, finished second last out in the Bold Venture. Prior to that, won a nice allowance race. We've got that video queued up. May as well show it. Let's take a look back at Lucky Curlin.
And down the extreme outside, looking to strike. Sashema's down to a length. They're coming. Escamins and Wild Medaglia de Oro up the inside. Roaring 40s. Navaje's Dream. Lucky Curl in the center and looking to strike on the outside. Sashema's narrowly in front, joined by Escaminson, and coming at them is Lucky Curlin on the outside. Lucky Curlin strolls up to make a line of 3 and battling away Escaminson. Lucky Curlin on the outside. Lucky Curlin narrowly. Lucky Curlin the winner from Escaminson.
I see Jessica getting ready to fire away now.
I've talked myself onto him a little bit.
Well, all I can say is
almost on top. Why not? Bombs away. Why not?
I still we need Admiralty Pier, and I want Admiralty Pier to win. It'd be interesting too because Admiralty Pier was just 8-1 a second ago. I was thinking that Muda Makina was 8-1, and that Gallardo in the last race. So we got the stakes races both won by 8-1 shots. Hopefully he'll go back to 8-1, and Gallardo winning 2 races in a row. That's what I'm hoping for, those patterns.
There we go. Bottom of the screen, we got the pick 4 ticket. We need Admiralty Pier. If we hit Admiralty Pier here, we are set up to hit a massive, massive ticket, considering we've caught 2 prices in the first 2 legs, be the 3-5 in the allowance race, in the last race, and then now we'd be catching something in the range of 7 or 8-1 with Admiralty Pier. Ellis, I hope you're right. I'm hoping we can channel some of the Uber Capper energy here and hit a big ticket. Let's go, Admiralty Pier. Other than that, it sounds like, Jessica, yours, Lucky Curlin?
Momos over Lucky Curlin.
Momos, Lucky Curlin.
Okay,
I'm going to go White Flag.
Off their run. What a perfect start. And back to last early Olympic runner. Momos began the best with turn to side. Town Cruise on the outside, push towards them and reconfigure the rail. And in behind them in the centre going up is AV's Flatter. Lucky Curlin tracks. On the inside is Admiralty Pier. And then White Flag, Jolie Olympica, and Olympic runner is last. Momos in front. A length Town Cruise has gone up nicely in second. Over on the inside, turn to side in third. A length and a half, AV's Flatter on the bridle. And back on the inside, reconfigure. There are a couple in front of Lucky Curlin, mid-pack. White Flag starting to wind up. In behind them, Jolie Olympica commencing a run. Admiralty Pier dropped to the tail as Olympic runner goes the outside. Momos turns in the Nearctic with Town Cruise right alongside. AV's Flatter takes aim as they come down the lane. It's Momos, Town Cruise joined by AV's Flatter. And AV's Flatter on the outside's gone up to share the lead with Momos. And down the outside trying to run home from a long way back. Jolie Olympica out in front, AV's Flatter. Momos on the insides fighting on. Turn to sides running a big race in the centre. AV's Flatter's in front. Turn to sides nibbling away in second on the outside. AV's Flatter from turn to side. AV's Flatter becomes $1 million stakes winner by winning the Nearctic Stakes. Fantastic performance. Second turn to side. Right behind them, Olympic runner came from the clouds. And on the inside, Momos. And it is...
Yeah. He bled last out.
Yep.
Yeah, AV's Flatter. To be anything less than 30-1 there had to have been enough knowledge going around that he bled last out on the Woodbine Mile, because everything before that indicated that, he fit here, and he did.
So don't you wish this was information that people could readily get, though?
I sure do.
Like, that's just such a, that's the kind of thing that you really, and there's nothing wrong with disclosing that.
Yeah.
This was almost, by the way, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Ellis.
No, I was going to say, you look at his line 3 back, the Connaught Cup, which you showed. AV's Flatter beat Olympic Runner. I think Olympic Runner was third here. The odd horse that got in the middle there was Turned Aside, who you can't say he bled because he had LASIK last time out, and he ran a complete 8th in the Highlander, and Admiralty Pier had run second. And Admiralty Pier just did not look to enjoy himself out there. He never showed that kick he had showed before, and maybe it was the ground. I didn't see the second fracture. It's 45.95. So the course a little wet. You expect these horses to be going about 22 flat and about 45 flat. But certainly that was just a big effort on AV's Flatter's part. It turned aside.
He's a classy, hard-knocking horse. Nice to see him get that big win.
Yeah, that Turned Aside, the runner-up, like it's, I wouldn't, point to, what you said, like no indication it was anything about bleeding last out or anything like that with Turned Aside. But the one thing with Turned Aside, we hadn't spoken much about him. The 6-horse ran a career best in the Turf Sprint Championship at Aqueduct last year, a 102 buyer speed figure, career best 113 Equibase speed figure. That was over good ground. So it caught soft ground there, ran an improved race, maybe potentially just preferred the surface. And that's why we saw an improved effort from Turned Aside. But look, there were a couple in there who just absolutely, absolute clunkers. Jolie Olympica, did anyone see where she finished?
She was rallying on the outside, I'm guessing, in top 5.
I think she finished about 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
So she was out there. Momos ran an honest race, was up with the pace, and it went pretty fast early. And hung in for a placing. And
Town Cruise didn't get the lead he wanted and threw in the towel.
Absolutely. Yeah, when they don't get it their way, sometimes, especially a horse has been doing it 3-4 races in a row the same exact way and winning, you don't get to the lead. Not going to turn out the same way. And then Lucky Curlin, again, just it's kind of, a couple of horses in here just didn't seem to ever get going. I think Lucky Curlin was one. The horse that I liked, White Flag, was another one. Just really never got going. And the top couple, AV's Flatter really made the biggest move from off the pace. And so, AV's Flatter wins the day. And I think, again, to the point I made a few moments ago, had it been clear to us and had we known that he just bled that day, all the races prior to that, if you put a line through the last race, you put a line through the Woodbine Mile, you've got some races there that would have had AV's Flatter just making a ton more sense.
So that's an instance where I do feel for kind of new horse players, because they don't know, that's not something that they know really about yet. Like, we talk about it so casually because we've been doing this forever, and understand that it's a relatively innocuous thing too, and that they can bounce back so quickly from that. But someone who's new to the game kind of just sees that and goes, oh, like something happened.
Right. Yeah. You have to make it.
And bleeding sounds scary. That sounds.
It does. It looks scary. It also looks very bad.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things horses do, not that bad.
Right. Well, it's like a lot. It's like a nosebleed, right? Like a lot of us, like my wife has nosebleeds, right? Like just and not even running, like just like literally like eating a chicken sandwich, like randomly her nose will start bleeding, and we don't panic about it. We just we put a napkin in. Well, for horses, I mean, typically it's an indicator for those just who are watching, who are learning the game, specifically for a horse who'd been on Lasix over and over and over again, was off Lasix for that one race, and then just faded, just completely just dropped off the screen. It's pretty safe to assume that the horse bled because the horse was not on Lasix. And so now back on Lasix, and I think the odds board was our biggest friend there. I was expecting to see much bigger odds on Aegis Ladder. When the odds were as short as they were, I think we were being told by people betting the race.
They knew?
They knew. They obviously knew. So.
They knew.
All right. Ellis, you're going to send us back all the money we lost on this race? You're going to refund all of us? Is that right?
I'll try and make it up somehow, but that's not happening. Anything but that. Look, I mean, we had the horses just would have been, it's the problem with players with pick fours is you really have to find a strategy that works. And we had 2 singles to spread in those other races. The ticket that we had with Artie would have had everybody in this race. It just was tough to have. We had all the winners and all the tickets, but that is irrelevant because that ticket would have been like $1,000.
Right. Yeah. There's no way to cover every single horse. I mean, right, or you could just go all like the guy that I mentioned.
Mean, that's how I like to do it.
Yeah. all. That's right. Yeah. I'm looking at all of my draft tickets, and none of them had this sequence of horses, so I don't feel so bad that all the 60 times we went over the ticket didn't change anything.
I will say, I haven't seen the Will Pays yet. Looking at the final race, but I gotta imagine they're pretty sweet. If you somehow happen to catch to beat Artie in the last race, to catch Utamakina at 8-1 in the first leg, and then here,
I'm happy to tell you, Dan, I got them.
Are they all just like thousands of dollars?
Well, for the 20 cent, which is what most people played, I'm sure. The range is from about $400, 4 or 5 horses. A few horses are in the $1,500 range, and then there are 3 horses that are $3,000, and there are 2 that are $7,500 for a 20 cent.
Right.
So.
Right.
Nice race.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just bet the last race. We're gonna sign off, but before we sign off, Ellis, I know you handicapped that last race.
Oh no! Yes, I did.
Just give us real quick, since for all of us who are now knocked out of our pick 4 tickets.
Correct. Yeah.
Who do we bet in this last race? How do we bet it?
Well, it's a race for those that don't know. It's a $10,000 claiming race for horses that have never won 2 lifetime. And I think the logical horse is a horse I actually bet last time out is the 11. His name is Pentanguishene. I could guarantee you Robert Geller says it better than me. Pentanguishene at 9-2. He'll be on the lead. He'll be trying to hold on as long as he can. He's cutting back from mile and 16th to 6.5 furlongs. He's a great horse. If you wanted to play an exacta box, take 5 other horses and box the 11 with 5 other horses. 13, Wide Awake would be an example. The 5, Musically Inclined. The 6 horse, Kentucky Fan. The 2 horse, Coco Tara.
Is that your dog, Jess?
Yeah, so that can mean, sorry to interrupt you, Ellis. That means one thing is that my husband has TVG on in the background because she loves yelling at the horses in the box. So that's what that means. There's a race going off somewhere.
Oh, good. I mean, it could have been worse. That's actually like that's comforting. That's good to know. That's what that.
Yeah, she loves yelling at the horses in the TV.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So the 11 Pentanguishene, take in exacta boxes with 5 horses, and you won't recoup what you've lost so far. At least we won't, but you might.
So anyway, so these $10,000 claimers, as Ellis was alluding to,
Yeah.
not always the most consistent runners, and so maybe this is a race where you grab for a price. Pentanguishene, the 11 horse, 12 to 1 in the morning line. We'll get a better sense for odds when they're posted in a
5
moment.
to 1 right now. I tell you, 5 to 1 right now is good odds.
Oh, okay. So you see it. All right. Perfect. Yep. Perfect. All right. Look, I think we're ready to wrap up. It's 5:55 on the East Coast. It's been really fun late afternoon here on a Sunday. It's been a great season again. Woodbine Live 2021. This is our season finale. It's been great. I want to give a shout out to some of the folks that are not with us today, who have been with us on prior shows. Obviously, Ren Carruthers is with us a whole bunch. I want to send Ren some love and wish her the best, and we hope to see her as we kind of tick down to the Breeders' Cup. She's going to be doing some content for us at ABR Live. And, Mike Samich was on with us. JB Fox has been on with us a ton. So shout out to those guys as well. But Jessica, let's kick it to you. Let people know in general where they can find your stuff, where they can catch you, and where they can hear your thoughts. And for Breeders' Cup, I mean, we know you're obviously in recovery at the moment. You're recovering from it didn't sound good. In recovery usually implies something else. You're recovering. But what are your early thoughts on Breeders' Cup, and where can people find out more as we get closer to Breeders' Cup from you?
Follow me on Twitter at JM Paquette. I am housebound for the foreseeable future, but I'm hoping to be back at Sam Houston this winter. That should be a lot of fun. Break up the New England cold and go down to Texas. And also for those of you, I also work for the Tharbird Retirement Foundation. And this Thursday, October 21st, there's a live stream at 8 p.m. about our Second Chances program. I invite everyone to check that out, learn a little bit more about the wonderful program and how the horses really can transform the lives of many people. So check that out. But otherwise, JM Paquette, no running photos for the foreseeable future either.
So do people find it on what's the exact account that they could find that live stream?
You can go to the Tharbird Retirement Foundation Twitter or check out trfinc.org.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. All right. And Ellis, are you going to Breeders' Cup?
Nope.
You're not
I'm going to be playing as many contests as I can that weekend and trying to win my second seat to the NHC. I got one, and the second one's been very elusive so far. So that's what I will be doing. But also blogging a lot, of course, for America's Best Racing, Equibase, Race of the Week, daily selections right now for Keeneland's website, a weekly Race of the Week for a stakes race on the Keeneland website for Keeneland Select. Great betting. Also amwager.com. You can just find them all by following me on Twitter at Ubercapper. And I post links to everything that I blog about. And daily selection a day for Sanlia and Del Mar.
And anything else?
Ellis Park next year.
And anything else?
That's all I can think right now. And ABR Live, Woodbine Live. It's been a thanks for having me.
I feel like if you keep saying "and," you'll just keep throwing things out there. So
I know people wonder if I clone myself sometimes, but the answer is no. Thank goodness, no clones.
Honestly, I've seen you on the go. It's impressive.
I appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks to Woodbine again. I will never forget my first trip, and hopefully my last to Woodbine this September. It was phenomenal. The track is beautiful. The people are wonderful.
Yeah.
I love Canadians. So just so you know.
I love Canadians. As you can see, I'm absolutely. I'm never more than 5 feet away from a Canadian flag, so I'm always right next to it. Ellis, thank you so much. Jessica, thank you so much. Jessica, again, we're sending you love. We're sending you love. All right, you're gonna be better soon.
What's with your dad? Is that it? I just signed in.
Yeah, I don't know what my dad's saying. I just signed in. He was texting me like an hour ago that he was watching the show. I don't know what he means. I just signed in. I think what I just signed in is like he's now like at a computer on YouTube where he can comment and like heckle us.
I get it. Okay.
He's like, I could have started heckling you. Now I can't. So
I'm glad he missed those opportunities, even though I like your dad a lot.
So again, from everyone here at America's Best Racing, for Ellis, for Jessica, for the entire team, Brett Charcuti, who produces all these shows. and just does such a kick-ass job.
Awesome.
And does it seamlessly. Thank you for watching Woodbine Live 2021. We love you. We will see you next year. For now, have a good night.
Is a special thing to see it come to Del Mar and for Del Mar to be put on the world stage. And it seems like fans, not only from around the country, but around the world, have really gravitated to this event.
So glad you could join us in this beautiful Southern California afternoon. Pristine conditions for championship racing. And that's what this event is all about. Championship.